and this is a major achievement of elementary particles. And I have a different slide. Shortly after the release of the standard model, people were asking that if we could delve deep into the elements, we will be able to find a interactive relationship between these two particles. And within a very and this is Einstein's classical gravity theory. So these two clues that the next step of magnetic physics should facilitate our understanding of the universe. And it can be conceived of a different way of thinking about the matters and the structures and about the composition of basic materials. So this is the complex physical relationships inside the material. So this is the string theory, and there are closed strings, and then we discover that a closed strings is generating a quantum of gravity. So it seems that this is a theory to unify all the different theories. So this is what has been going on for many decades, and there is much more exploration in science and to be delved in a distance as we learn more and more. And this connects also to the other major developments which will be partially discussed today about the enormous understanding of the universe and history. But what remains unstudied is that these stars are yet to be analyzed, and this is partially true in understanding gravity. And to understand this question, we need to understand the history, the beginning, and also its end. So this is a difficult problem which we don't know about the rules are, and part of the rules is to unify the forces with gravity. And only by doing so can we better understand the relationship between space and time. Much of the interesting developments of the last decade or so has been challenging our ideas once again in the history of physics, and also our space in time, and also particles and time. For example, employing the ideas of 3 dimensions. Instead of 3 dimensions, actually every particle may have more than 3 dimensionals. It may contain extra dimensional objects, and understanding the strange property of the black hole. There is abundant space in the universe. For the universe, we will have to understand the deep problems in space and time. For example, nothing could emerge from a void. So this is correlated relations of, once you put everything in the information, it may ease information. And in quantum physics, to understand gravity, you'd have to change the rules of quantum mechanics. Then we have made enormous progress in the last 20 years in understanding the profound reality of what you may call open strings and closed strings, which is the reality between quantum field theories as we use it in a standard model and also in standard physics and string physics theories. And this profound reality has caught our attention, and its generalization has taught us the possibility of answering the unification of the origins of the universe, but they have too much of our satisfaction. Explaining why Hawkins was wrong and why black holes are not violating quantum mechanics. And also in black holes, there are well-behaved quantum mechanics. In this case, as we believe generally, the information is contained in the black hole. The most profound questions that are now being analyzed by many people in the world are the nature of space and time themselves. There is string theories. Many of the properties of the space-time that we cherish are gone. And they are no longer recognized part of physics. And we expect that space-time is best described as a margin of our physics. And it's a beautiful example which we are using to explore this notion in much broader understanding. So the problem that we have to ask is that what are the rules of physics without space-time? We have a framework in which we are working, which is not quantum theory, but something that can be deeply connected and part of the framework. So we will have to find more basic frameworks in theoretical physics so that we can solve most of the basic problems that we have at present. And when this open framework is established, we will be able to know what is a standard theory, and it will no longer be a framework. So it has been a fantastic journey, and the journey continues. The best is yet to come. So we have some questions from the audience, and we will connect to the university online who has the question, which is the Beihang University. Do we have a question from the audience?
those were cartoons, but the result of real calculations in a discrete lattice version of QCD of the.
These are like cartoons, but the result of real calculation is the Greek version of DCD, and there are different colors in a quantum world as it fluctuates. More elements in a quantum world, they vibrate and they fluctuates.
You could, but we have a better theory that works, has been tested thousands of times with high precision. If you have an alternate theory, put it up for nature to decide.
Maybe there is some sense in what you just mentioned. If there is a new theory, maybe put it forward.
Professor David Gross, please look at the screen. This is the Beihang University, and we are connecting them online.
屏幕投去目光，这些就是我们的学生在屏幕的另一端下面。好。
We are having some questions to you.
Now please wave to the screen. We have students connected to us from a university in Beijing, and they have some questions to you.
I have a question. Hi, Professor Gross. I'm a student from Beihang University. It's really my honor to talk to you. In your talk earlier, you were mentioning the black hole, and I've learned that unlike the conventional objects, unlike the entropy of conventional objects, which depend on its volume, the entropy of a black hole is proportional to its surface area and not to its volume. So I'd like to know, what does this area law imply? And also, I'm now learning the quantum physics. It has come to my attention that we have another area law in quantum physics, in quantum information, called the area law of bipartite entanglement entropy. So I'm just wondering, is there any deeper connection between the two, or is it just an interesting coincidence? Thank you.
I wish I had half an hour to respond to your question. It's a wonderful question. So, indeed, the discovery by Bekenstein and Hawking of the fact that, by Hawking and Bekenstein, that a black hole behaves as a thermodynamic object with an entropy, which is kind of strange to begin with, and the entropy is proportional to the area of a black hole has been one of the leading hints or clues or strange properties of black holes that we've tried to understand. That idea that you can represent all the degrees of freedom that make up the entropy is an account of the number of microstates of an object on the surface of the object is holography, and is a fundamental part of that duality that I talked about between quantum gravity and a ordinary non-gravitational quantum mechanical theory on the boundary of that space-time. So in certain simple cases, in quantum gravity or string theory, which are dual to simple quantum mechanical systems, we are able to
在这些情况下面，可能我们可以去计算出它的熵值，同时呢，来展现出说，在这些大型的黑洞当中。
Maybe we are able to calculate the entropy, and we are also able to demonstrate that in large black holes, and it can be proportional. According to the theories that you just mentioned, we can enter the very center of the black hole, but to this date, there is no calculation model about the entry to the center of the black hole. And with respect to the second question you asked, which is electronic information, well, this is related to time and space. And we want to use the basic quantum mechanics theory to explain all those questions. But as I said, I need more time to make myself clear. Thank you, Professor David Close. Thank you for your wonderful sharing. Our next speaker is Frank Wizozak.
这是 Kamikaze 岩石，大家可以。
This is the Kamikaze stone. You can find it in Sweden. So what is Kamikaze? In Swedish, it means strange. So it's a strange stone. So the topic of my presentation is coincidence or not. Good afternoon. Welcome to the live broadcast room, the Future Science Award. In Shanghai right now, we are gathered with 65 top-notch scientists at the second World Laureates Forum. And this is the second day of the forum. And this is also the second day of our program. And we are very pleased to have with us Yu Kai, a professor from Shanghai. So this is much bigger compared to the first one. And last year we had 20 laureates. Yes, it's 26 or 30 something. So this year we have 65 Nobel laureates, and 44 of them are actually Nobel laureates, and the others, they are winners of the Fields Medal, the Wolf Prize, the Turing Award, and also the Lasker Award. So in terms of scale, in terms of turnout, so what progress do you think we have made? Personally, if I'm going to compare these two forums, we have increased in turnout, and it shows that the WLA is generating a lot of traction, and it's attracting a lot of prize winners. Me, I'm from the technical field. I'm very much interested in the Turing Award, and we also have a lot of the Fields Medal winners. So I think it's covering a wider range of spectrum, and I truly feel that all the top ranking scientists are here. So it's more diverse. So yesterday, it has been one full day of meeting, and we have a keynote speech, and we also have a lot of slides. And in the afternoon, we had a very eye-catching tablecloth forum, and all the scientists, they're sitting beside 15 desks. they just write down their keywords and opinions on those tablecloths. And I'm wondering, what did they write down? So we have 15 desks, and each desk has 15 people. So this is quite relevant. I mean, the table and the category of those scientists. And in my table, we have 2 Turing Awards winners, and we also have 2 physicians, and we also have 2 to 3 high school students. And most of them, they are from the technical field, for example, artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, and some basic science subjects. So this is the broad structure, because we are covering a wide range of area. And then the Turing Award winner from my table proposed that because we are from diverse world, then why not talk about how to make breakthroughs, disruptive challenges or innovations. And so our table had a discussion that is moving to subjects about the future. So which means that you basically talk about disruptive innovations. Exactly. So this is also the question that the young scientists, they are very much interested. So we're wondering, what is the conclusion that you have reached? Well, there are many. So you can tell how diverse the answer is from the presentation that we made. The answer we have is that never be afraid of being foolish, and never be afraid of anything. Which means that, we need not to be afraid of doing something foolish or stupid, because a high school student from my table represented the whole table and made a presentation. So he's very lucky, indeed. So the first point we made was from the Turing Award winner. He shared one of the theses that he published in a forum, and it was published in association with his partner, and his partner found a very good solution. And after the forum, and he was complained that there is nothing contained in the thesis. Why? Because there is no others that were paying interest. Then we came to the conclusion that because this is very rigid theory, you don't have a foreplay in that thesis. Yes, when a new theory is put forward, a lot of the people would give labels that it's not reliable and it's not disruptive. Yes, we have been talking about mainstream innovations, but if something comes and no one has researched about it, then so if you happen to get a Nobel Prize, or if you get a reply or feedback from the Nobel committee that you have no value in your thesis, then what can you think? So the second year he was accepted, and he was also given the Best Thesis Award. So he just shared one of his personal stories with us. So there is always something foolish, but oftentimes disruptive and breakthrough innovations, they are based on strong foundations and disruptive challenges, and oftentimes and sometimes they are based on no ground, and it seems very foolish, but they can be so disruptive. Now here we can actually have an interaction with our viewers, and I'm asking the viewers right now, have you done anything foolish? And is that possible that they may lead to some disruptive innovation? And in the duration of the forum, we're going to select some very lucky viewers, and we will also offer some gifts. So I'm looking forward to your participation. So talking about foolish or being foolish, so you are an AI expert, and several years ago it was not a buzzword. People were not paying attention. So do you think it was foolish for you to choose this subject from many years ago? I'm not going to translate foolish into stupid. It's not stupid, and it's almost dumb. And I was a little bit dumb, and it's like a nerd, and I didn't have a clear thinking many years ago. But I have been doing AI for 20 years, and I chose AI because I went abroad. I went to Cambridge University. At that time, AI was not recognized. So what was the environment like in that time overseas? For us who are doing AI, and at that time in foreign countries there were masters, there were senior professors, but here domestically in China there was not sufficient funding support. But we were very lucky that we were later funded by the government, and so we were very lucky to be funded by the government. So we had a lot of very good facilities, and so at that time in foreign countries the environment was much better. And when I graduated, my alumni, most of them, they chose a job in a different field. So, which means that you don't have a lot of alumni who are right now doing AI. Yeah, in my generation, not so many, but right now there are more and more. So when I look back and review this being dumb or nerd, and I was very grateful. And we were actually doing this conversational AI, and I spent 10 years in Cambridge doing voice recognition and also doing conversational AI. So I put these two subjects together. In this afternoon, we have 8 stream forums. Now we're going to have a broadcast of 3, and we have AI, we have finance and technology, and also AI, and also neuroscience, life science, and the discovery of innovative drugs. And we are going to broadcast live on 3 forums about black hole, about aerospace technology, and about economics and finance. Now let's go back to the forum. So in a field of nature studies, not everything is very accurate, and photo recognition is a very important subjects. And deep learning is actually a multi-layered subject, and we hope to be able to simulate the brain of a human being or an animal. You can take a look at the photo, and I was not referring to the photo just now, and you can find all those dots in a space and then analyze those dots, and without going through all these spaces, you will never be able to simulate a brain of either a human being or an animal. So we were in a process of recognizing those signals and then eventually output those analysis. So from a mathematical perspective, there are a lot of processes that you need to go through. You can see that you can get a very simple function, and in every step of the way you will have a lot of data, and with the changes of data you can have a coefficient of sigma, and it's a very simple function. You can just take a look at the slide, and if you add everything together, you will get a information illustrating the changes and correlations between different data. So this is purely math, and actually all the AI is based on mathematics, and although the calculation is slightly different. This happens very well, although some of you may not understand why. And if you want to understand more, you will have to learn mathematics very well. And I would like to recommend you an article, and there was a professor who wrote a book about mathematics in your imagination. So I just shared with you how mathematics is applied in artificial intelligence. So I'm asking whether AI can be applied in mathematics, and what can AI do in mathematics. I myself am a mathematician, and I'm thinking about this question of interaction between mathematics and AI, and what are the theories of mathematics that can be studied or learned by machines. Some of the mathematical rules can be learned and grasped by machines. Here, let's take a look at one example. And this is geometry. Geometry is, they seem very complex and sophisticated. And you must have heard this concept that in geometry there is this Calabi-2 space. This is the very famous question in mathematics, where we are looking at this sphere. Actually, in mathematics, in particularly in geometry, this is very interesting. We have string theory and also the mirror theory, and it's symmetrical. In geometry, Calabi-Yaws play a fundamental role in geometry. In this drawing, it well illustrates the application of mathematics and physics. Mathematically, it tells us a lot about science. This geometrical space contains a lot of sophisticated structures, and these spaces can be defined by a certain polynomial equations inside. So it's a 3D space, but you can condense it, and then you can receive this projected space, which is just defined by some polynomial functions. There are some examples. You can take a look at this function. This can give you some more understanding. So it's a formula, by adding n and 1, you will be able to get this geometry structure. And when n is equivalent to 2, in particular, due to different reasons, and this geometry will change, will take some places, and it's not a oval curve, and it's quite different from machine learning. But this oval curve is looking like something just on a screen, and if the n is 4, we get a quintic curve. So this is also a very important theory for mathematics. When n takes different numbers, and then the curve changes. So the question is whether artificial intelligence can tell you so much about it, can tell you so much about those figure and data. Some may look into this problem, and they will categorize the different geometry drawing, and they will use different functions to calculate. Here we already have some examples, and 10 years ago they were actually researched, and a lot of mathematicians, they used a neural network to research into those drawing. And right now, neural network, we're looking at whether it can study the correlations between the value of the number and the shape of the curve, and we found out that neural network, they have a prediction rate of 97% and 98% of accuracy, and sometimes even the machine has not been exposed to such a photo, and then it's able to predict what the shape might be when the value of the number is, let's say, 4 or 5, which means that the machine actually they can learn, and they can actually learn and predict things that they have not learned before. And I will conclude my presentation here, and thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kausar. Our next speaker is Baron Dimossi. He is also from University of Cambridge. Thank you very much. I'm very lucky because what I'm going to share has been shared by speakers before me, and they have laid a very good foundation, but I won't repeat everything that they said here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about whether AI or whether machines can learn mathematics. I want to say two things about mathematics. And first, if you want to figure out a quiz, you will have to understand the formula. When you go to a test, you will have to know those facts. And number two, you must have the ability to study mathematics. And you will need this capacity and ability to solve some of the big puzzles and quiz. So facts and competencies, they're quite different. And if we're talking about AI, these two traits or qualities are quite different. And now let's delve more into what it takes to do a math quiz. And there are two types of tests. The first is to look at whether you can solve a mathematical test. If you have learned a lot of formula and functions, and can you figure out the results, and some are using a lot of different calculation methods, and you will need to use all those different formula. And when doing that, you're just playing the role of a calculator. You're just calculating the results, and that's it. But the other sort of thing is to solve the problems that we haven't met before, which is, are we able to reason mathematically? So it's reasoning. And so the first is simply calculation, and the second is reasoning. And if you are doing reasoning, there is no single calculation or formula that can help you do that. And if it is a very philosophical issue, and then you will need a lot of reasoning. And so these two different tests, they are quite different. One is calculation, and the other is simply reasoning. So if you ask computers, are they able to do calculations? Of course they can. But more interestingly, if you ask machines, are they able to do reasoning in mathematics? Well, let me tell you the answer first. I think in the future, maybe, but right now they're not doing very well. So I talked earlier about learning mathematics. I talked about the facts, which is the hard knowledge that you need to have. But any mathematicians, they will know that the boundary between these two are not a clear one. And let me share with you my own experience. When I was studying at Cambridge at the 4th grade, in university, and an exam was given to us. In that examination, we need to go to lectures. Before the examination, we have to go to lectures. We have to learn a lot of theories, and in a test, we will need to do a lot of reasoning. So it's actually a test of your memory. You just need to memorize a lot of the formula. But later we found out that there are too much to be memorized, and you have to follow the logic, follow the reasoning behind those hard knowledge, which means that you don't need to actually memorize all the hard formulas. You will have to know the underlying reason behind those formulas. So you just need to learn one or two key points. And with these 2 points, you'll be able to calculate and do reasoning, and you know the cause and consequences. And so learning math is quite different from reasoning. These are actually 2 different competencies. So some of you may ask, computers, will they be able to learn hard knowledge? Of course they can. There are a lot of those data online, and there are a lot of databases, just like archive libraries, and there are a lot of those theses out there as well. But can we see that machines and computers, will they be able to rate those material and do reasoning by themselves? Not yet. So what we write down is quite different from the way that we do calculation. And similarly, memory is quite different from storage. And when we are memorizing something, we are only spending 1% of our energy doing actually memorizing, and 99% of them has to do with our memory. And so to give you one example, and you still need logic memory when you are actually memorizing something, and the specifics of the mathematics quiz is quite difficult. I won't go into details, and this is just one theory contained in my book. This is actually called theorem, and you can find this in your literature, and this is also related to machine learning. But I won't go into details of this theory because you don't need to understand the specifics, so I won't go into details. And let me tell you how this is reasoned, and I will just read from the slide, and which is A belongs to the subgroup of A, and the maximum value of A is K. And so picking element I and remove it from all sets A in A, such as AI is not an A. Repeat until you cannot change A anymore. We have a Hungarian professor in my university who is very good at it. So if I write down, it's going to take a lot of papers. And if you memorize that, it's almost impossible. But you will have to know the logic first, and then you will know the correlations between different examples. And you don't need to memorize what is written on the slide. You just need to figure out what are the theories and what are the logics behind this surface. So when you are memorizing this, you can formulate a picture in your brain which can summarize all the theory that you are currently reading. And so I have this approach, and I have this ability to reconstruct the memory in my brain. And if you are doing research on this particular field, it's a lot more easier. I'm taking this example to say that study is not memorizing. A study entails a lot of logical thinking. So I was just talking about internet. On the internet, there are a lot of mathematical contents, but you cannot say that internet can well study or understand mathematics. it's actually this simple, and because right now machines, they won't be able to understand the underlying meaning behind words and behind figures. So I believe this will change, because in the future database is something smart and intelligent, and you just need to use better ways of coding and programming, and there are a lot of internet-based tools which can help us to know the relationships between different mathematical theories. And if we could have such a database, it can be very helpful in accelerating our research on mathematics, because in the future you will not be searching a word, you'll be searching a concept. In the future there might be another developments in this spectacular world, and because right now machines, they're not learning mathematics. Machines, they can only do some very simple mathematics reasoning or mathematical reasoning. So different mathematicians are different, and inside mathematics there are many different schools. I'm familiar with all those different schools and branches, but if I'm driven out of my world, I will be maybe soaring in a world that is totally strange. I don't know what it's like in Shanghai, but in many countries in the world, they are saying that it's very difficult to find math teachers. Well, that is because math teachers, when they are not doing math, they can make a lot of money. So that's why this problem is just very common. In the future, I believe mathematics can be taught with machines. You just need to put in a lot of programs. You just need to understand what are the difficult points of different quiz, and it's just like what a math teacher can do. I'm not saying that in 5 years this will become reality, and I won't be able to know when it will become true, but I believe that in at most 25 years we will have machine math teachers, and by that time we will be able to empower more people in their learning of math. So this is a very promising prospect going forward. And now we're going to ask, are intelligent machines able to do research? So Professor Valen was speaking that we researchers, we won't be replaced by machines, because researchers have a lot of reasoning skills. But I believe in the future there might be some fresh developments which may allow machines to replace the jobs of research. But I put a question mark here, because this is something maybe too wild and too imaginative, and I have done a little bit research here. Let me just show you some example here, and this is a joint research with Gahan Slam, and we worked out a procedure. We want to illustrate the shared group of two public group, and so this is not a reading about the results. So you can see that machines, they can pretty much work out the same mathematical problem as human beings, and so we also gave these two results versions to scientists, and a lot of the scientists reviewing these results, they were wrong, and they thought the version by machines were the version by human beings. So which means that machines are now at a very amazing speed of development, and in the future, at least what machines can do is be our assistant in research. So in the future there will be automatic reasoning, and this is a path for AI, and AI is now able to recognize shapes and pictures, but they are not using reasoning. But machines, they can learn, and they can move towards the direction of reasoning on the basis of curves and shapes. And I believe that mathematics is a test field for AI, and we can use mathematics as a test field to see what big progress AI can make in the future. So that is why we say that still it's a challenge for AI to be applied in some ordinary fields, and maybe we can do a verification with AI. And so that's all to my presentation, and thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.